Okay, good. All right. Good morning. Hi, Ten, George, Realty. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a nice weekend. The weekend was very pleasant, very, very warm, and it's the best time to do business. So, uh, and I hope you are not, scared by the stock market last week. To Thursday and Friday was a very bloody. For the 2 days, it dropped more than 4,000 points. This really scared everybody. That's really, really very, very, very sad. But according to Trump, this is still only temporary, and it will come back. I hope he's right. Otherwise, we're going into a recession, and the Fed is not going to be very happy about that. And the stock market will definitely be in turmoil. That will affect the real estate market also. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But meanwhile, we still have to do business. We have to don't lose our perspective and let's be calm about it. Okay. Now, with that, I would like to introduce our affiliates today. There are a lot of them today. I'm glad that they're coming to the meeting and supporting the company. Let's begin with Mary. Mary, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, everyone. Marie with Contempo Escrow, here to help you grow your business. Well, what's going on in the market? I think we are still seeing movement in our market. I continue to say we're in a different time in real estate. I've been at this 30 years, probably never quite seen this market. But at the end of the day, there are always going to be situations where people need to move, want to move, or there's circumstances for relocations and things of that nature. So the business is still out there. You just have to kind of go back to the basics of reaching out to your clients, doing your door knocking. It's beautiful outside. So what a perfect time to do the door knocking. We just got to get people out of their comfort zones. I think people, as we talked about the economy and Trump and the stock market, people are scared. So I think people are doing more holding right now than anything. But there are those people that just they go out and they do it anyway. So reach out to your sphere of influences, get out there. Like I always tell you guys, if you ever have a question on a mobile home, like Camilla just called me about one that we were able to refer out to another one of your agents. I had a listing agent on a mobile home who I referred her buyer to agent to. So I was able to communicate two different offices for a business. I get you guys have the sale, and I gave you a listing agent who had a listing. So I have a lot of influence in mobile homes. So if you guys ever have any questions, don't ever pass anything up. Always call me first. For your real estate market, when you're out there with your listing appointments, please call me for listing appointments, because there's always going to be what your client thinks their home is worth versus what it's actually worth. So let's do those net sheets to go out in your appointment so that you're fully ready and ahead of your client when they have these overinflated thought processes of what their properties are worth. So again, please feel free to call me. Have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to working with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. Next is Frank. How are you, Frank, today?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing well. Thank you so much for having me here again. Happy Monday, everybody. Um, so I've been getting a couple things, especially when it comes to stocks and so forth, and the crazy markets. And a good friend of mine told me this because he said, "Hey, how's your 401k?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a little down, about 10%." And you have to think about what is 10%. And he said, "Hey, when did you start your 401k?" Well, I started it 17 years ago. How much did you put into it, your money, your personal money into it? And I said, I don't know, maybe $80,000. Perfect. How much do you have right now? 320,000. And you're complaining about 10% when you only put in 80,000, but you have over 300,000 in it. As an example, right? That sometimes we get so worried about very microcosm little things. Oh my God, stocks are bad. But depending on how much money you put into it, a long time ago, you grow more. Same thing goes with equity. You bought a home for 140, it's worth a million now. You're
Mhm.
not complaining if it goes down 10%, unless you're selling it. But if you're not, you're okay. So the whole thing is that with this, we have to keep in mind, let's look at the whole big picture in real estate. not just only what happens in one little day. If we did that, we wouldn't live. We wouldn't live well. We have to look at the whole thing. So that's my 2 cents. Think of the whole economy in itself. Don't look at what happened in one day. Because if we did, we would say, oh my God, today's negative 54 basis points, which means the bad market for interest rates. But if you don't have a home to sell, don't worry about it. So get a home to sell.
Very good, Frank. I like your perspective. Good.
You got to think bigger. Think bigger.
Good. Thank you so much, Frank. Okay, that's it. Hey, Mark, good morning. I'd like to welcome you back. We haven't seen you for a while. So how's everything? You have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I had a little episode where I actually had a heart attack and a stent put in. That's why you haven't seen me around, but I'm doing well and back.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm here to assist your agents and your buyers in this challenging insurance market. I have not yet to strike out, so always able to provide something to close the deal. So, they say when the market is down, always real estate does well, regardless, comes back better. So that is something that I say, look for opportunities elsewhere. If you don't have it in the market, then get it in real estate and put your money there. Anyways, it's super, super important for you folks as buyers agents to be proactive, and even as sellers agents to be proactive. I have never in my 38 years have more selling agents contacting me and taking the proactive measures of introducing me to the buyers agents, because what they're finding out is if the buyers don't do a good job, or their buyers insurance agents don't do a good job of saying, hey, I can get insurance, that often puts a scare into the buyers, and then they may sort of have a buyer's remorse and want to back out of the deal. But when they can say, no, we can insure this house. If you love this house, we can, and we've already accepted your offer. Let's get this closed. And that's where I come in. So happy to help out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You look good for having a heart attack.
I felt good, and I just thought it was a little pain in the chest, and it wasn't pain. It was just tugging, and I thought I'd tug it out, but was forced to go to the HTGR, and they put me in right away.
Wow.
95% blocked.
Yeah, nowadays the medical works miracles, I have a few friends who had a heart attack, and they coming out very nicely too, so that's good news.
The bill was $128,000, so that was a little scary.
Well, but your insurance people.
I hope so.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Do we have some affiliations in the training room? Can we introduce them now?
Come on in, come on up, and I'll put the camera towards you. All the affiliates. Okay. Come on, Brandon.
There you go, Frank.
Oh, okay.
You got a whole thing done. On the dance show.
Oh, great. We have a lot of affiliates in the training room. That's good.
Come on in.
I'm
just trying to get you so they can see you on Zoom.
What's up?
Yeah.
We can't hear her, Michelle.
Michelle.
Okay, hold on 1 second, Peter. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to look into it. You can go ahead and speak.
Okay.
Yeah, they can see you right there.
Okay. Hi everyone, my Truist Fidelity title. If you guys need anything title related, please let me know. We have a lot of different farming tools available for you, and I can give you the access code for that. And then I brought here to raffle today a open house kit. So on the weekends, if you guys need anything like flyer box or a booty bin or shoe covers, let me know. I work on weekends and I can deliver them to your open house for you. So yeah, just anything I can do to help you guys, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Maitreya.
Thank you, Mai. Thank you so much.
Okay, and then we'll put cards up. So I'll give you time to get a card and then we'll do that at the end. Thank you. Hi, Al.
Hi, Alba. Good morning.
And
Good
then they
morning.
can see you here too.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Peter, Michelle, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm Alba Moy from Moyes in Alhambra. I'm just down the street, and I'm here for you 24/7, okay? You can always leave a message and email me. Wishing everybody a great week and a very productive and healthy month. Thank you, guys.
24/7, you said? Wow, what's
That's no sleep.
good morning. Yolanda, good morning.
Everybody had a wonderful weekend. Yolanda Martinez Arenas, WFG National Title Company. I've been in the business 43 years. I'm here to help you. Call me for any prospecting ideas, farming. I'd like to help you. Keep going. It's hot on listings right now. Thank you so much.
All
Have
right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Great, thank you.
Anybody else in the room that we've missed? Just the Eagles.
Brandon, good morning, Brandon. Nice to see you.
The Eagles have landed. We're officially here. Brandon with First American Natural Hazard Disclosures, the first of your 3 Eagles. We have this really cool, or CAL FIRE has a really cool map that I just wanted to bring up to you guys. So as we all know, the fire zones have expanded. I will put that in the chat, but this is a really good tool for you to check out. If you want to know if it's in a local fire zone, that's the big one, right? Because that's the one that's expanded. The local zones are obviously making the maps expand more. And that's what you really want to know when you go into getting a listing. I can always look up if it's in a fire zone before you get the listing, so you know that going in and you can set that expectation with your sellers. I'm here to help you guys grow your business. I'm always here for you, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brandon.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Angie.
Hi.
You're the second Eagle, huh? Okay.
Yeah, Eagle has flown in. So there's been a lot of fraud happening recently. Again, as you know, with AI, it's going to worsen. So we are going to be having a webinar because the more you know, the more you'll gain in knowledge and you can see these red flags sooner than later. So our webinar from First American Corporate is going to be on August. I keep saying August. I'm hoping it's summer already, but it's April the 16th at 11 a.m. You should have gotten an email or a registration link. If you didn't, I have an email that I could send out and then you can click on it or scan the QR. So it's going to be talking about a lot of different things. I'm just going to highlight a few things. We're having 3 major speakers: impersonalization, fake listings, identity theft, financial fraud, manipulating legal documents, real stories of deep fakes, deepfake detectives, unmasking the fraudster, and a fraud busters. These are all the different topics that they're going to go over. 3 major components of, 3 major speakers that we're going to be having through our webinar, and it's going to be all webinar. It's not going to be recorded. It'll record, but we usually cannot release it out to the public. So if you guys wanted to attend, it is in a webinar and it's about an hour, hour and a half. You can even add in your questions when you register. So really informative. And lastly, I do have closing costs for California. So in case your client asks you what are the closing costs, who pays for what, this is a really good, I guess like a chart, a cheat sheet chart to tell you who pays for what on what sides. So if you guys want this, I'll leave it in my cubby. I'm here to help you grow your business. Angie Tang, First American Title. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Angie, we don't have the link yet. Can you resend the link to us so that I can e-blast to all the agents?
No problem. I'll send it to you now. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much.
I have a question. Is that webinar on a Wednesday?
April the 16th, I believe it's on a
16th.
Wednesday. Let me double check. Yes, it's next Wednesday at 11 a.m.
A lot of us are involved in the specialized commercial
CLE,
real
yeah,
estate.
CLE win. We have a CLE win at 10 o'clock and ending at 11:30.
Oh, then that's perfect. Then what you could do is right after that class, you could just one person log on to the webinar and everybody that's here can watch it at the same time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right.
Not recording. The last of your Eagles is here, but Michelle's looking for a file, so I thought I'd just say something cute while we wait, because I'll also spill some time. Hi, everyone. Sandy with First American, your third and I guess oldest Eagle. Couple things. So people talk about their houses. What do they call them? Their home, their nest. Think of First American as protecting your nest. We are the Eagles protecting your nest. Okay. Right? Thank you. The is appreciated. Thank you. So you've got Angie with title and Brandon with NHD and me with home warranty, and all we're all trying to do is protect the house. Okay, that's our entire goal. So when you think about that, think about us protecting your nest. Michelle's still looking for it, but what I was going to talk about today was how the upgrades make the home warranty what it is. There you go. So we only have 4 plans: basic, value, Eagle, and max. Basic is basic, let's not sell it. Okay, it's just too basic. Value, Eagle, and max are all upgraded plans. So what does that mean to your client? It means that they get the code and permit upgrade. So the code and permit upgrade. So if we have to pull a permit, we're going to pay up to $250 for each permit. If it's over that, the homeowner pays the difference. Generally speaking, a couple times it might go over for, air conditioning systems, but generally speaking, $250 is going to cover your permit. We cover up to $250 in code upgrades. Now, that's not enough for a lot of claims. You have an older air conditioner, older furnace, older water heater, you're going to run through that $250 before you even think about it. Okay. So there are things that we can add even to the upgraded plans to make it better for your clients. The very best plan, which is our max plan, has Plumbing Plus and Codes, Mods, and More already built into it, so you don't have to add it in. But those 2 options are the upgrades that help pay up to $1,000 extra of a homeowner's out-of-pocket costs if they have to replace a major system or appliance. So with value or Eagle, if they have to replace their water heater, they're going to come out of pocket. They're going to come out of pocket several $100s just for the water, for the water heater to be installed. Anything the technician has to do to get it to pass code that we are not paying for, he passes those charges along to the homeowner. That can be a few $100s up to several hundred, almost $1,000. Okay, air conditioners, a homeowner could pay $3,000 or $4,000 out of pocket. But if you consider that an air conditioning system can run between $7,500 and $13,000, it's not too bad, right? And those prices are only going up for HVAC, because now we've changed gas again, right? Now it's AL2. It's more of a propane. It's a different. So technicians have to be retrained. Older systems that in the past that we would be able to modify, we will not be able to. We're going to have to switch them out. So my air conditioning system at my house is almost 30 years old. Back when they built them to last, it will not die. It's not going to fail mechanically. Mine will fail because we won't be able to have the gas for it. The next time mine fails, they're going to have to replace it. Because once Freon's gone, Freon's gone. Now, because you can't import it or the United States, and you can't manufacture it here anymore. But some supply houses still have some. But once it's gone, it's gone. So I'm looking at that. So when you have the max plan, or you have added Plumbing Plus or Codes and Mods to your client home warranties, you're actually adding more money to them that they have to use on their claims. With the Codes, Mods, and More, we'll pay up to $1,000 more of their out-of-pocket costs per contract, not per claim.
What happened to the audio? Jimmy, we cannot hear the Sandy.
Peter, I could hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but we cannot hear Sandy.
Yeah, or Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. What happened, Jimmy?
And tell Mark Wu that I'm ahead of him. I had 5 stints put in.
You have 5 stints?
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's better than 4
Aren't you-
bypasses.
Aren't you glad you're still alive?
No, I'd rather be in heaven rejoicing with
No,
the
come
Lord.
on. You're not serious about that. Oh, what happened?
Audio glitch.
Michelle, are you there?
Somebody needs to tell her to turn on her.
I don't know what happened.
She's got her amplifier muted or turned off.
Let me go and see what happened. Okay, I'm sorry about the glitch. I went to the training room and yeah, and we cannot hear the Sandy at all. But Sandy said she can do it another time if we would prefer. And yeah, maybe we will arrange another time for Sandy to talk about more upgrade, more coverage, and more peace of mind next time. Is that okay? Hello?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's continue with the meeting.
Can you hear us now?
Hello?
Peter, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
5-minute recap. How's that? I will do this in
Yeah,
5 hot
I
minutes.
can hear you now.
Perfect, 5 hot minutes, right? That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay.
When you're out looking at houses with your clients, look for old water heaters, old air conditioners and old heaters, and make sure if they have that, you always go to the max plan. That's gonna give your clients the most coverage and protect them for the least out-of-pocket cost for them as possible. If they have newer appliances, stick with the Eagle Premier, it's fine. Don't sell basic, basic is basic. We do not have any limits on plumbing, heating, electrical, or water heaters. So be careful with that. Saving money on a home warranty will not always save you money on a home warranty. Fly with the Eagles, because we're gonna protect your nest. I'm done. Okay. Have a great Monday. I'm going to take everything else. See you guys next week.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. I'm sure that the information is very informational and educational, although I missed some of them. Thank you for giving us information session today. So let's continue the meeting, and I'm glad that we have gotten some traction in bringing the people back to the face-to-face meeting. In the training room, we have a lot of people in the training room today, and a lot of affiliates, and that's a good start. Maybe from now on we'll get more the participation in the in-person meeting. In-person meeting is, of course, better than the Zoom, because you can rub shoulder with your fellow agents. A little bit different, and it's more conducive for learning. So I hope that we can come back we start our face-to-face meeting from now on. And as Michelle said, we have pastries and also drinks in the training room. So that will be a good incentive for agents to come in as well. Okay, I just want to have a couple of announcements. And as you know that the CLE win is in full force now. This week will be the third week for the CLE win session, and we're going to learn about the property marketing tools. It's going to be very informational and very helpful in the commercial real estate. So don't miss that. And as you know that attendance in this class is very important. You have to have at least 80% of attendance in order to get the certificate. And once you get the certificate, you can get access to the commercial desk, to the CB commercial desk, where you have a lot of very educational information, and also you get the certificate. So that will certify you as a CB commercial agent, and that is a very prestigious title to have. And this Friday, we're going to have a training too at 1 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock, and we're going to touch on some of the forms. I think it's disclosure forms, and also we're going to talk about how to handle the RPA cancellation as well as escrow cancellation. It'll be a hands-on training for people who are still not clear about cancellation of RPA and also cancellation of escrow. So that will be a pretty useful training session for you also. All right. Now with that, I think Doug Myers is in the audience. So Doug, would you like to address us?
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hope you had a great weekend and a fantastic coming week. Imagine you had a potential client that knows you personally, they like you, and they trust you. Man, you got a heads up on somebody just meeting for the first time. These people are in your phone book. They're in your email address. They're in your Christmas card list. They're your neighbor. They're your friends. They're your family. These are all people you should stay in touch with, because there is business with people you already know. And if you don't remind them that you're in business and how to reach you, they're not going to remember you sometimes. Trust me, it's happened to me. Somebody I've known very close went to somebody else. Oh, you still in the business? I mean, I'm telling you, your sphere of influence is what I'm talking about. The people you already know, go out and do all your marketing, whatever else you're going to do that. But don't ever stop contacting your sphere of influence. Those are the people that know you, they like you, they trust you. Okay? Have a good week. I'm here if you need me. Take care.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, no kidding. Your sphere of influence will stay with you forever. You think that they've forgotten about you after 5-10 years, but once you get contact with them, you will rekindle the kind of connections that you had before. So that is very important source of business for the sphere of influence. And
Peter, I just want to add one thing. I'm closing an escrow Wednesday of somebody I've known for 50 years. I used to work for him before I even got into real estate. And I've been in real estate over 50 years.
Oh, you were a little lad then.
I kept in touch. And I'm closing an escrow.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that's how you see the sphere of influence is powerful. Okay, all right. Let's talk about some business in the office. We have a pretty good business. The last week we have 9 listing and 9 escrows. So that's not too bad at all. For the listing, we have Sunshine and Ruben, a residence in Rosemead for 1.2 million. And Dora Wong has a listing, a commercial listing for 698,000. Nina Shi has actually 4 listing with Tatiana. all in Monterey Park, all the condos in Monterey Park is for some are for 711,000, 725,000, and also 962,000. So pretty good. It seems like that Nina is selling a lot of condos. Every week she has more than two or three condos in escrow. That's very good, very good. And then Kwan, Lante has a residence in Alita, I think it's Alita, 799,000 as a residence. Shime Cam has a residential in Alhambra for 460,000. And Ruben and Sunshine has a residence listing in West Covina for 739,000. So congratulations on all those listings, and very, very good listing, and I'm sure that it's going to sell. And then, as I said, we have 9 escrow right now. And the first one is that Gary Lee for 200 for our residents in Los Angeles, 2.85 million. Then we have David and Yan Yan. Congratulations, David. You have $850,000 residents in Arcadia. And then you have Amy Wong, 655,000 residents in La Ponte. Rosa Reyes has income property in Los Angeles for 1.14 million. Herman Solito has residence in Alhambra for 1.4 million. And then we have Nina Tatiana, who have 3 condos, escrow in Monterey Park, 606,000, 718,000, and 700,000. And then Karina Pang has a commercial lease for 31,500. So all those 9 escrows in escrow right now doing pretty well. So congratulations on those listings and on the escrows. I think our business is getting better now, and there's a very good sign. And let's keep the momentum. Okay. Anybody has any new listings or reduction in price or anything to share? No? But David, I would like to thank you for the lunch and learn that you threw last Wednesday. It was pretty good, very, very successful. You have the 3 speakers that gave us a very good information. Thank you so much. Appreciate
You're very
it.
welcome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any more comments from the agents? Before we go into today's presentation, we're doing pretty good on timing. Well, if not, then I will share my screen. Oh, Michelle, can you share the screen for me, please? Screen
Yes, I
sharing.
can, but maybe the settings. Let me do it again. Hold on. Okay.
Okay, great.
Reset it.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, a lot of agents, I should say, that the things that after they cancel the escrow, I mean, not cancel the contract or the RPA, the escrow is canceled automatically, or vice versa. They think that if you don't have any escrow, then you don't have any RPA or you don't have a contract. But the truth is that both the ARPA and the escrow are independent. In other words, canceling one doesn't automatically cancel the other. So you have to make sure, in order to put it totally out of the deal, you have to make sure that you cancel both. You have to cancel the RPA and also cancel the escrow. If you don't, then you will you'll be liable for a lawsuit by the buyer, the seller, or other parties. So it's very important that you know how to cancel the RPA and escrow properly. And today I'm going to tell you how to do it properly. Okay. Now, let's talk about the cancellation RPA. Now, RPA is a contract between the buyer and seller. Although it doesn't involve the brokers, but yet the broker has a fiduciary duty to make sure that the buyer and the seller are well protected of their contract. And if the contract is still ineffective, then they cannot go anywhere. They're bound to each other. And until the RPA is canceled and the escrow is canceled, the buyer and the seller are bound together. So first of all, if you want to cancel the RPA, you have to determine the basis for cancellation. For example, if the contingencies are not met, for example, the loan contingency, appraisal contingency, and the inspection contingency, those are the three very important contingency that you have to satisfy. Normally, you have 17 days to remove all those the contingency. Maybe the loan contingency will be a little bit longer, but the appraisal and the inspection contingency usually 17 days, unless you specify otherwise. And then you have to determine whether you have a breach of contract. For example, for failures to perform, whether, for example, if you didn't put in the earnest money deposit into escrow, then the contract of the RPA is breached, and then you can demand it to have it canceled. And of course, you can have a mutual agreement between the buyer and the seller to cancel the contract anytime if it is mutually agreeable to buyers and seller, because those are the contracts that bind them together. And if they mutually agree to have it canceled, then it can be done anytime. You don't have to go to any contingency removal or anything like that. And then there's some times you have the buyers has the right to cancel the RPA. For example, you have the contingency period of 17 days. Within 17 days, you can do so regardless. So those are the contingency periods that you have to be aware of, and you have to make sure that they're properly followed. Secondly, if you want to cancel the RPA, you have to use the correct form. Now, you don't have to use the cancellation of contract. You can always use your own form. But if you use your own form, that you're doing on your own risk, unless you're very knowledgeable or you have some guidance of attorney, I would not recommend that. And yet, you know, the CAR has a very good cancellation escrow form, and all you have to do is fill it out or check in the right boxes, and then you have a very comprehensive cancellation form, which is legally endorsed by the CAR. And if something is wrong, the CAR will be responsible for the legality of the form. So you're well protected from the buyer, seller, and all the parties involved in the transaction. And then you check the box to indicate who is canceling, whether it's the buyer or the seller. Okay, that's important, very important too. If you check the wrong party, then this will be invalid, you know, because you know then it's because this is not the reason for the cancellation, and also you have to specify the reason for cancellation, such as a failure to remove a contingency, or whether it's a mutual agreement, or whether it's a breach of contract or default. Whether you have the right to cancel the per terms of the agreement.
Protect your house. In South Africa, a new method to punish home intruders has been devised. When the device detects...
Buddy, can you mute yourself?
And awaits instructions. Then simply use... The police in Texas have launched an investigation.
Buddy? Okay. Okay, and then the third item that you have to do is is to have you have to address the earnest money deposit. What you do with the earnest money deposit? You go to the seller. You can sometimes you go to the buyer, and sometimes you have to deduct some of the expenses of that was dispersed by the escrow. So all this thing you have to have a conclusion to what happened to the earnest money deposit and how to dispose it before the escrow is canceled effectively. And then the both party has to sign or to authorize the release of funds held in escrow, because that is required, because escrow is the mutual or neutral party, and it has a fiduciary to the duty to both parties. So even one party that instructed escrow to do something, it has to get the permission for the other party in order to effectuate the escrow instruction. So both party has to sign or to authorize the release of fund, and this is also stipulated in the Civil Code section 1057.3. Now, if there is any dispute at all over the deposit, the escrow officer is not going to release the deposit in any way. Then it has to wait until you have a mutual written release, or you have a court order, or you have the arbitration award. So those are the three possibility or three exceptions that the escrow will not need the mutual agreement of the both parties. And then fourthly, you have to submit the signed cancellation to escrow. So after you have the buyer and seller sign it, you send it to the escrow and ask the escrow to draft a escrow instruction as to the release of the funds, and then close out the file. Now, if there's any unresolved dispute at all, and sometimes, according to the RPA, you have to go through mediation, you have to go through arbitration, and if both are not feasible, sometimes some party doesn't want to go to mediation or arbitration, and then the final way to settle this is going to court with the interpleader action. So interpleader action means that you go to court and ask the judge to decide which party would deserve the earnest money deposit. And then lastly, you keep a copy of all the documentations. So if you do all the above 5 procedures, then you have a legally effective cancellation of RPA and escrow. Now, the question is, can you have a unilateral cancellation of RPA? Yes, you can have a unilateral cancellation of RPA if the other party has breached the contract already. But the thing is that you are legally and contractually required to send a notice to perform before you can unilaterally cancel the RPA. The reason why is because paragraph 14 of the residential purchase agreement stipulate the right procedure to cancel the RPA. The right procedure is that, first of all, you have to give the other party, which is either the seller or the buyer, a notice to perform. If this the buyer, then you give the NBP, a notice of buyer to perform. And if it's a seller who wants to cancel, you give the notice of a seller to perform. In other words, if the buyer wants the seller to perform, then they use the notice of seller to perform, and it must be delivered to the proper party, giving the other party at least 2 days to cure. And after 2 days, if they don't cure that defect or cure the breach, then the cancellation of the RPA will be unilaterally effective. In other words, after you give the notice and the other party ignore you, then the cancellation will be effective after the third day. The third day after give notice. So how do you give the notice? Well, the required process is that you use the CAR form, either the NBP or the NSP. If the buyer is failing to perform, you give the notice to the buyer to perform, and if the seller is failing to perform, you serve the seller the notice of seller to perform. And then notice must specify what obligation is unmet. In other words, what is the reason for the cancellation, or what is the reason for the other party to be given notice to perform. And then you give the other party a minimum of 2 calendar days. So to cure the failure. So in other words, the 3rd day, if they don't cure the defect, then the cancellation of the contract will be effective. And so the performing party will then use the cancellation form to unilaterally cancel the contract, and that you have to send it to the escrow and inform the escrow that the RPA has been unilaterally canceled or has been illegally canceled. Now, the difference between the cancellation of RPA and cancellation of escrow is that the RPA is legally the contract between the buyer and seller, and if the other seller, if the other party breached the contract first, then you have the legal right to cancel the agreement without further obligations, and that is like what we call the unilateral cancellation of RPA. And so after the cancellation, then your legal obligation between the buyer and seller will be extinguished. But the thing is that even if you effectively cancel the RPA, doesn't mean that the escrow is effectively canceled, because the cancellation of escrow requires mutual agreement. In other words, it needs the signature of the buyer and the seller in order to cancel the escrow, and the escrow has to have the instruction of how to handle the AMD and how to handle the documents, and there should be additional escrow instruction to cancel escrow. So unless that is totally completed, the cancellation escrow will not be legally effective. And if there's any dispute at all, the buyers and the seller can drag on a long time until it's legally settled. Okay. For the cancellation of escrow, that means you have to close all the escrow file. And since the escrow officer is the neutral party, they have fiduciary duty to the seller and the buyer, and so the escrow would need mutual written instructions, not oral. Oral instruction in a real estate transaction is not effective. So you have to have written instruction from both the buyer to the seller to cancel the file, to release the deposit, and to return or destroy all the documents. And escrow officer cannot act on his own. He has to have the instruction from both the buyer and the seller in mutual agreement. But both parties has to sign the cancellation of a contract, or if they don't have the mutual party to cancel the escrow, they must have a court order or arbitration award that directing the escrow to close the files or to cancel the escrow. And also, if a party files a demand to release funds and the other party failed to object in a timely manner, according to the Civil Code section 1057.3. So those are the situations where the escrow can resort to if they have a dispute not to agree on the cancellation of escrow. So this is the summary table and tells you each the cancellation, escrow, and cancellation contract, and what it ends and what is the document used, and whether you need the both party to agree, and whether the escrow funds are released, how to get it released, and what is it triggered by. So this is just a good summary for you to follow. And in case you want to have any question about the effectiveness of the cancellation of escrow and cancellation of the contract. So remember, the key tip is that even if you legally cancel the escrow, you still need the mutual agreement or the legal resolution to cancel escrow and release the fund. So it's always better to treat them as two coordinated steps, not just one. Okay, so they are intertwined together, and you have to take care of it at the same time. Before it's legally effective. So the proper way to take in order to protect the seller and the broker is that, first of all, you have to properly cancel the RPA first, send a notice to perform first, and then confirm that the buyer has not recorded a dependent on the property or filed a lawsuit, and then send a written notice of cancellation to escrow, and then you disclose the cancellation in the MLS and to the future buyers. And in order to protect the broker, you should get all the communications documented. Like, for example, the emails, the timelines, the notices, the tags, and make sure that you have all those written informations about the transaction. And the seller has followed the correct cancellation process. If they don't, then they are still bound to the other to the other party, which is the buyer, and the buyer has the right to sue them for specific performance and as well as for actual damages, and that can be very messy. And then the listing agreement, if the listing agreement is still effective or renew if needed before you market it to the other party or the second the buyer. Okay, so now after the cancellation, the RPA, can you market the property to another buyer? The answer is yes. You can market the property to another prospective buyer, provided that, first of all, you have to disclose to the second buyer about the cancellation of contract with the first buyer. You can just say, and also if the cancel is not completely, if the escrow is not completely canceled, you have to tell them that the second buyer's escrow is pending on the successful cancellation of the first escrow. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. If you have two escrow on the same property, and now who's the buyer? Who's the rightful buyer? It was the first buyer or the second buyer. Nobody can tell. If the first buyer is not totally disposed of, and then they still have the contract escrow or the contract of the RPA, then they still have the right on the purchase of the property. So who should be entitled to purchase the property? And then you have to go to court to determine that, and it's a very, very messy procedure. It's very expensive, so you don't want to do that. And you must, if you want to have another RPA with the second buyer, in the RPA, you must say that the second buyer is contingent upon the successful cancellation of escrow with the first buyer. And then also you have to make sure that there's no lawsuit with the first buyer and no lispendent on the property. If they have already have a lispendent on the property, then you cannot market the property because you don't have the clear title now. The title has been blurred by the lawsuit or the lispendent on the property. So you cannot really actively, effectively market the property at all. Now, and also you have to inform the second buyer that if the escrow for the first buyer it's not successfully canceled, the seller will just refund the EMD to the second buyer, and then each party will hold each other harmless thereafter. So those are the precautionary steps that you have to take, and make sure that you take all of them and make sure it's clear to the second party that this is a contingent transaction. It's not for sure. Okay, so that's all I'll have to share with you. And remember, this is very important. You have to handle it carefully. And if you don't do that, then there will be a very messy lawsuit that involves the buyer, seller, the escrow officer, and the agents for the buyer and seller. So it's going to be a very messy lawsuit. Okay. All right. I'll stop here and entertain any question if you have any question about this topic.
I got a question on that,
Yeah, but
Peter, on that marketing the property after the cancellation. Would it be would it be the obligation also of the realtors to mention that in the MLS?
Yes, definitely.
I've encountered one.
Yeah, you have to mention it.
Never mentioned it, and when you make the offer, they say, we gotta have a cancellation, subject to cancellation of the current transaction.
Yeah. You have to do that in the MLS. Yeah. Remember, everything should be transparent. You don't want to withhold any material information at all.
Peter, can I give everybody that is probably on their minds an example of what can happen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was representing a seller and the offer was accepted. Then the buyer sent us a repair list, things that they wanted us to repair. And my buyer said, my seller said, we'll do this, this, and this, but we're not going to do that, that, and that. And the seller said, take it or leave it, because that's all we're doing. We accepted a lower price than we really wanted to, and we're not going to spend much more money on doing repairs.
Right.
Then the buyer refused the seller's counter, and the seller said, okay, let's cancel. The buyer's agent called me and said, you can't cancel because we're going to hold your property and your seller hostage by not signing any cancellations. And that went on for 2.5 months until we wound up going to mediation. So, you got to be very careful and specific on the wording of the contract.
Yes.
And the response to the buyer's request for repairs.
Right.
And then the buyer was refusing to sign cancellation. He was refusing to get back his own money until my seller performed. So it's a very slippery slope.
Yes, definitely. You have to very careful, very careful. Nowadays, especially people are very litigious, and then they find that any little things to hold on your property hostage and drag on for a long time. That is their bargaining chip, So yeah, we have to be very careful about that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Franco.
No problem.
Okay.
I got another question regarding what Franco has mentioned on the RPAs.
Yeah.
Since we have been doing all of these transactions with clients, sellers, and buyers through, remotely, and even the signatures are done remotely. Now, would it be proper for all the agents to send the package of listing agreements or the purchase agreements to the respective clients ahead of time for them to have time to review it, to read it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be good.
So that then, but the thing is, of course, time is in the essence when it comes to these transactions, because the property may not be available by the time the buyer or the sellers agree on something. So,
Right.
with that said, what would be the appropriate time or lead time to give the clients to read all these documents?
Well,
2
I
3
think
days?
usually, yeah, usually, a week or 10 days is a reasonable time.
10 days.
Yeah,
So,
well, 1 week to 10 days, yes. Legally, that's the reasonable time, yeah.
Can I interject what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
The seller and buyer agreed and they accepted the contract. Then the buyer had an inspection done. And when the inspection was done, the buyer called out all of these repairs that the inspection had noticed. So like I said, the sellers agreed to do a certain amount of things, but not a lot of other stuff. And the buyer refused to sign anything or cancel or return the money. So it was after escrow was the contract was accepted, we opened escrow. 4 days later, the inspector came. A day after the inspection, that's when they sent us a list of repairs to be done. So sometimes the both parties have to agree that the inspection report and the repairs are going to be sent to each other after escrow is open. So there was the problem. Does that answer your question, buddy?
Yeah, but there are some cases wherein properties are, well, the properties are inspected, like I'd see the terms make an offer subject to inspection. So is that gives the buyers basically the option whether they want to spend immediately something that they have not agreed upon, for an inspector to be there when they initially see the property after the offer has been presented? I'm
most of
dealing
the
with one
time,
right now. It's a rental property. It's subject to inspection. So we are now making an offer on that, but apparently the buyers are now are still reviewing the documents that were sent, and they have their own work schedules and time schedules. So it's kind of hard to press on the buyers. Hey, can you act quickly on this, because the property might be out of the market by the time we respond or make the offer. So in this case, does the buyer spend money for a home inspector to be with them when they do the initial inspection?
Yeah, well, it depends how you work in the RPA. If you're selling the property as is, and also stipulate that you have a certain time to do your due diligence, and if during due diligence the seller doesn't want to sell the property to the buyer because of the demand of the extensive repair, you are within you're right to do so.
Yeah,
But
they've
I
laid
have a
out.
question.
Can you hear me,
Yeah, I
Peter?
can hear you.
Okay, so they've laid out the requests for repair over the last 2 to 3 years very nicely. So the RPA, the seller can either reject the repair, and there's a way to completely reject the request for repair. We can bring that up on Friday. That request for repair is laid out extremely nice now. There's several blocks, but the seller can completely reject the request for repair or do some of the items, but we can lay the form out on Friday. I think that'll curb some of the questions on it.
Right. But Michelle is right. Nowadays, they have a very clear disposition of the seller in responding to their request for repairs. So
Peter, I have a question.
Yes.
Lori, I have a question. So in other words, if one party breaches the contract and they don't agree, whatever you're gonna do, if they don't agree, you're still gonna end up in court.
Well, if they don't agree, you have to send the notice for the other party to perform in 2 days. If they don't do that, then legally you have canceled the contract. The contract, but not get escrow. Okay, so you still have to manage the escrow.
Peter?
Peter,
yes.
The buyer does not make any mistake, but the seller who's canceling it, what is the chance of the buyer can get the property?
If it is the seller's mistake?
It's nobody's mistake. It's just the seller's canceling it. What is the chance of the buyer can still get the property? Can they still get the property, or the buyer can only claim back their earnest money deposit? What is the right for the buyers?
Well, it depends on how you said in the RPA. You know, if you're saying that is so as is, and the buyer has their own the duty to do the due diligence, and also if in the repair, you know, when you respond to
anything. It's just the seller also don't want to cancel.
The seller don't want to cancel?
No, the buyer
don't want to cancel. Yeah.
The seller who all of a sudden, oh, you know what? I'm not selling this property anymore. What can the buyer get out of that situation?
Well, the buyer can always dispute, and if that is come to the case, you have to do a mediation, as it's stipulated in the RPA.
So the outcome, the mediation, most likely what's going to happen? They just get the money back, the earnest money deposit back?
Yeah,
or
yeah, most likely, most likely, if that is the case.
Well, that money is already belong to the buyer. That means it's not going to hurt the seller. The seller who's canceling it, but then they just returning the money that is already belong to the buyer. So that's not benefiting the buyer at all.
Yeah, but in the original contract, the seller has the right to cancel if they don't want to agree to the repairs.
The buyer does not ask any repair.
Oh no, then he cannot. Then he cannot refuse to go forward.
Peter?
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So we had escrow. I know the answer to your question, but I want to hear from your legal side of things, because I always like to make sure I am well-rounded in all that I do. If we have a cancellation in which a buyer cancels escrow and then the seller the seller cancels the escrow they choose not to do whatever the buyer's request.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Seller cancels, buyer puts in their cancellation, and one of the parties will not sign. Say, for instance, the buyer will not sign, seller sign, but buyer will not sign this document.
Right.
And we as escrow know at that point we go neutral. Right. But if that situation ends up going into maybe leading towards arbitration, and then escrow, my listing agent has another buyer in which they're going to proceed with the sale of that property. And we disclose in our new contract that there is a pending cancellation, that escrow cannot close without the agreement to all parties.
Right.
What is what would you say our stand as escrow is as far as opening up a new escrow? Some people say, oh, just go to another escrow company. Do we really have to do that?
No, you don't have to do that. As long as you handle it correctly and then disclose to all the parties, this is a contingent escrow instead of the regular escrow. Everybody has to know that the transparency is the key.
Yeah, because you'll continually I'll hear agents say, well, I'll just go to another escrow company. I'm like, why do you have to do that?
Yeah, they could. I mean, yes.
It's not cleaner or any.
But it's not required.
Yeah, it's not required. It can stay the same as long as all parties disclose properly, including escrow.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Sure.
I think I did that one time. Raising what Marie's question was. I was the listing agent, and the buyers didn't want to cancel. After trying all the efforts of with the agents of the buyers to sign the cancellation, they did not want to.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I could not remember. And we had another buyer coming in. The backup buyer was on standby. So what I did is open another escrow with another escrow company. And we sold the property.
But the other escrow company has to disclose all the material facts too. That
We didn't tell the escrow company about the cancellation of what the ongoing pending cancellation. So we opened
you did
another
or you
escrow,
didn't?
and by the time that we opened the escrow, the agents of the buyers started coming back, and we didn't say that we have opened another escrow. And when we closed escrow on that second deal, then I told the other the buyer's agent, well, the property's been sold already.
That's the problem, you know. That means the cancellation of escrow and cancellation of RPA has not been properly handled.
Right, but because the other buyer, the first buyer didn't want to sign the cancellation, and losing the backup offer on that, so we had to open escrow with another escrow company.
Well, then the escrow. That's why I say the other escrow company has to disclose the escrow with its first buyer, and then it has to stipulate in the RPA that the second RPA is contingent upon the successful cancellation of escrow for the first buyer.
Yeah,
I have a question, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead.
About what Buddy said, are you saying that you can close the next escrow if you did not completely cancel the first?
You could, but you have to put me together as a contingency. You know, you have to tell the second buyer that this is not a regular escrow. It is a contingent escrow, contingent upon the successful cancellation of the first escrow.
And you can close.
No, you cannot close.
That's what he did. He closed.
You cannot close at all. You have to. The closing is contingent upon the successful cancellation of escrow first buyer.
Yeah, but we didn't do that. We just kept quiet about it.
No, then you're making a big mistake. That's what we had. That's what we had a lawsuit right now. You know, in our own company. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. They keep quiet about it, and then when the first buyer learned about it, he sued everybody. He sued the seller, sued the escrow officer, he sued the buyer's agent, and the seller's agent, and the company, and our company. Okay.
Want to make sure not only do you disclose as the escrow officer, you make sure your escrow company holds on to that money, because if your escrow releases that money back to that buyer, you are all in big doodles.
Yes, you have to. You cannot release the money to anyone. Anything else? I think it's a good discussion. We'll do that more this Friday when Michelle and I do a little hands-on training on this procedure, cancellation of LPA and escrow. Okay. If you have further question, you want to learn more about it, come this Friday at 1 o'clock. Okay.
Good. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Peter, Michelle. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, yeah. Wow. This over time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, then I will adjourn this meeting, and I hope you have a very nice week ahead of you. And we'll see you if you want to come to the training on Friday. We'll see you on Friday. Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Sure. Bye bye.